Are we live? I think that's it. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight, for tuning in wherever you are. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you for your time, attention, focus. It's an incredible thing to offer in this present world. I would first like to thank the Jive Hive for hosting all of this. They've been incredible. None of this was here. None of this was like up here, and they pieced everything together in like the last 3 hours. It's insane. Thank you. Oh my God. So, thank you all. You're in for it tonight. Let me start by saying, please don't misinterpret any of the expressions from me you see tonight as an absence of peace. I'm having nothing but a good time up here. That being said, there's a disclaimer with the show. A lot of this is inherently going to challenge some aspect of something you believe presently. None of it is a provocation. None of it is a mockery. It is simply an offer. Not meant to infuriate, but meant to invite. Thank you. Now, I do not want what you bring. I don't want your judgments of me, your shame, your lack, your guilt, your feelings of inadequacy. I don't want your dogmatic religious shaming, your detached science, your financial advice, your finger pointed at the written law of man, your wandering minds, or your fear of death. But there is one thing I do want from you tonight, which is your unobstructed, objective attention. And for that, I will offer you everything that I have learned that completely absolves you of everything that is not authentically you. I have gathered everything you need, and you shall have it. And the funny thing is, it's real. It's all real. It's all real. Just not in the way that it has been offered to us in a long time. Now, what are we doing here tonight? We're going to examine the... Ooh. We lost it. It's going to be the Magic Picture Book of Life. And I know, those Magic Eye books, people are like, shit, because you never saw anything in those. But I promise you, it's way easier and way more fun than those. But you will be astonished at what you find when you are able to look deeper. I'm going to pull you out of the maze, and I'm going to show you the map. Those who are ready will have their view of the world shattered, but the full power to rebuild those shards in the most beautiful way that each of you sees fit. For any of you who are not ready, you will view this as, well, comedy and heresy. But let's get started anyway. Where to begin? The Fool. Yeah, it took me a long time to understand why the Fool is the first card in the tarot, the zero card. We're not going to get into all the complexity of the tarot here right now, but it is the fool who embarks on the seeker's journey thinking that they will not be fundamentally changed by what they find. So, really, it was a matter of what I wanted to find. And I've always been able to look around and see someone who has a deeper understanding of the way that the world moves and operates, and know that because of that, they are inherently experiencing a different reality than me. They presently see the world in a different light than I do, small as it may be. But that only ever made me want to understand what they know. So after realizing that most people knew more than me about politics and sports and fashion and the economy and science and geography, basically all geography and music and art and everything else and video games, basically anything that the general population finds valuable, I realized there weren't many, if any, who knew shit about purpose. So I decided that's what I wanted to find, purpose, significance, the answer to what are we? I wanted to see all the secret images in the Magic Eye Book of the world. And I did. And in so doing, I found all of you. I was literally like, oh my God, guys, it's us. Now, I'll spare you the wild wanderings that brought me here. I'll just give you the gist of it. So, little Paulie, weird little homeschooled boy with a heart of gold. Little Paulie went and saw a show in the city, and it ruined his life. Because after whoever was playing Jean Valjean in this particular production of Les Mis absolutely shattered the audience, little Paulie thought to himself, that's amazing, and I'm about 1,000% sure that that's all I really ever want to do with my life. After that, I did a great deal of acting in a great many places for very little to no money. Do you ever just wonder, like, oh, if my child self could see me now, what might they think? Or do you wish you could just, like, go back and, like, just explain things? a little. Just like, oi, kid. Now look, I know it's not going great out here, but just hear me out, okay? So, that show that you saw, and it made you want to follow this dream of being a theater artist and things like that, that was not an easy thing to sign us up for. But I'm out here. I'm making it work, okay? But however much as we may like the world to be kind, it often is not a kind place. So I've taken my licks out here. And regrettably, I've handed out a few. Because by the way, that happy-go-lucky sense of play that you're working with and whimsy, that just turns to chaos out here. And then you start getting annoyed that you even have to explain yourself to this little pissant. So you go, hey, no, what do you know about anything, huh? You and that other guy, the guy don't you walk away from me. The guy I should be. I feel like you just set these lofty goals of fulfillment and just pass me the buck like, okay, that's me, just let me know how it goes. And then if by some act of God it actually happens, he gets all the credit for it. And then I'm just a shitbag out here running things. It's like, what? You have to work for that. You don't just go, I'm going to be this incredible person. Here I go around the world. No. You got to bust your ass for that. You got to work in just about more things than you want to, in everything. You got to bust your ass and go through some stuff to earn that, especially when you act as reckless as we do. And I'm out here making it work, and I'm looking back at you, and I'm looking forward at him, and you're both like, oh my God, Paul, you're really fucking this up. And even if I ever do make it to that superstar man I should be, he's just going to give me an overly firm handshake and just be like, geez, really appreciate it, with a really confusing accent, and then walk away all smug and proud. Oh, proud of his sexy body, not at his age, boatloads of money, fucking laughable, and his trail of good deeds left behind him. I'm actually working on that one, check back, but it is because of me. You will get to him because of me. I was there with you in the beginning. I will be there with you in the end. And I will carry us all along the way. So that's how it started, I guess. And now one of my many names is Lamente Semiket. And you spell it like the shape of a cloud I saw when it came to me. So people change. People change! And as I watched through the years the people around me change, I realized that I was afraid. And not because of me, but because I was afraid that whatever I might change into might disappoint those that I love. And that was absurd. The very seasons change, and I, in a lifetime, am meant not to. No. So here I am. And I have changed quite a lot. But make no mistake, I am still that small child. Only now I'm a very intelligent child. And the scope of my toys has grown immensely. Let me show you what I've been playing with. All right, we will start with energy. What is energy? How does it exist in the cosmos, in us? What do we know about energy? Energy is mass. Not the observable surface, but the entirety of the mass multiplied by the speed or force of light by itself. That is what comprises energy. Now, why and how is it the speed of light times itself, times whatever the mass is in question? We've been told that nothing can surpass the speed of light, let alone by a multiplied factor of itself. So how is that the accepted basis for our complete operation of reality? Well, you'll see. Everything is energy. Everything we can see and everything we can't. We are sensing the world all the time through our known senses. Sound, light, touch, taste, and smell. What most aren't aware of is every sense has a receptive aspect and an active aspect. Sound. Ba-dum-ba. Your ears are the receptive aspect of this sense, and your voice is the active aspect. The sounds you hear are the energy reverberations across the various molecules through solid materials, liquids, the air, whatever, as they travel to your ear. Animals, wind in the trees, the hum of machines, flaming of doors, prayers, mantras, music. Oh my God, music. If you want to cheat your mood, music has a capability of permeating our psyche in profound ways. Your voice is the same sense in an expressive or active capacity. My voice is the energetic expression of my thoughts and feelings. Laughter. Laughter is the unhindered expression of your joy or amusement. It is the energetic expression produced by your body when it is experiencing those sensations. Let it fly. Light. Light is an expression of energy of which we naturally have a very limited perception. Light is expressed on a certain frequency or wavelength that resonates in the receptive capabilities of your pupil, which process that energy into information your brain can analyze. But the spectrum of light is itself quite literally infinite. From broad waves to unfathomably tightly knit waves, everything we see casts in different lights. Animals, people, machinery in motion, appreciation for grace and beauty in motion, appreciation for form in art and architecture, colors, oh my God! See my excitement about music. The colors we dress our personal spaces in, the colors we dress ourselves in that naturally change with our moods. Mood rings, those crafty bastards. Now, the stunning capability of a single sight to absolutely overwhelm us with joy or turmoil speaks to the energetic power of this sense. The active aspect of this sense is in your very gaze. I know you felt it. I know you did. Oh, we'll talk more actually about the intensity of the human gaze in a spell. Touch! The ability to energetically interact with the material world around you. Our hands, our fingertips, our feet are the furthest and finest physical extensions of our brains. The soles of our feet, our palms and fingertips are each energy pads. Your feet are actually tripods with your sole, the instep, and the toe point on the base. They can support you in any terrain. Now, I'm sorry. The right hemisphere is bound to the left hemisphere of the body and vice versa. So, the receptive capability is in the physical sense you enjoy taking in. The active aspect is the ability to sense what force you are asserting on the outside world. Our flesh, as a whole, is a direct sensor of our environment, and oh, the elation and suffering it can bring. The solid forms you see around you are the expressions of the energy manifestations in that molecular formation. Thoughts in motion. Yes, the energy originating in your brain, passing through your nerves into your synapses, the kinetic, electrical, energetic expression of your thoughts and your will manifested in motion, bruh. Taste and smell. These are essentially the same sense and encompass far more than our mouths and nose. This is our body's ability to chemically sense. Oh, don't look at that yet. This body can chemically sense the substances and materials around us, take them in, integrate, and filter back out toxins or excess. Kidneys, lungs, stomach, liver, and gallbladder, all huge aspects. The receptive aspect is smelling and ingesting food and or substances. The active aspect is integration and expulsion through sweat, mucus, urination, excrement, all that fun stuff. This might be the most unsettling thing and world-shattering thing you all hear tonight, but when you are smelling something, you are essentially tasting it. Please don't think about it. To relax, I need your focus, all right? The smell of your family's cooking. The scent of the first person you were ever attracted to. Flowers, forests, spices, oils, perfumes, wine, food. Oh, food! Acids, fat, zest, that bang bang, texture, crisp, chunky, creamy. You see where we're going. Cream soda! You had no idea how I was getting there. Anyway, these are the senses that we are all aware of and use to gauge our safety from moment to moment. This is the same exact energy source that we are sensing in different forms of expression. There are more senses that we are capable of in the human form beyond these primal prods of reality. Anyone can soften these senses and is capable of sensing the world in a far more in-depth way. I'm begging your pardon. It simply takes discipline over your body, mind, and emotions. Emotions. Strap in, folks. Emotions are energy in motion. Emotion. And like every other expression of energy, they exist at different frequencies or resonances. Active and receptive are pretty straightforward here. Your emotions are influenced by your experiences, and you have the ability to emotionally influence the experience of others. It's beautiful and horrific. They are actually a little understood but measurable phenomenon in science and medicine, and they generally correspond to the light scale of color in frequency and energetic resonance. Lower, more primal emotions of shame, fear, hate resonate at lower frequencies of red up through the color spectrum to the higher frequency emotions of love, gratitude, and joy, while they have a whole range of emotions in between. We find guilt and shame at the bottom of the well, as those are emotions that we experience directed inward at ourselves, not at the outside world. Vengeance is the pendulum of wrath swinging back and forth between beings and communities, only disempowered by forgiveness, a powerful emotional act. And then there's the immense gravity of doubt. What is doubt? Energetically, doubt is this horrific sludge that we coat ourselves and others in, and it hurts each other to exist at the base frequency of, no, you can't, you're not good enough, who do you think you are? And it is energetically debilitating to experience and receive if you open yourself to it. Now, these are all feelings, sensations each of us knows well, so let's start paying attention to them as one of our senses. We often feel that we have no control over our emotions and how we express that energy. That is very intentional and false. We are operating in a culture that is moving at breakneck speed, actively competing for our attention, manipulating and influencing our emotional state, or at the very least, keeping us reliant on it to regulate our emotions. More on this culture to come. What else? Thoughts. Brainwaves! Similar to emotions, you can receive an idea or thought that changes your understanding or perspective. Likewise, we can share thoughts and ideas or put ideas into action which affect the world around us. We think that every thought that comes across our mind is our own. They are not. The truth is that our brains operate on energy frequencies far higher than anything our other senses are receiving, with the exception of emotions. Our physical brains are receivers and transmitters of energetic information through alignment and resonance. And if you can't fathom the extent of that practical application, don't fret. What do you think we're doing here? But those are the ways we sense and interact with energy in various ways. Let's talk about how energy exists and works in the cosmos, large and small, which are simply figures of scale. However, the way energy operates is consistent across those. Let's start small. At least the very smallest measure commonly understood by man, the atom. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons, positive electric charge, masculine. Neutron, neutral energetic charge, balanced. Electron and negative energetic charge, feminine. The balanced state of the neutrons encompass the protons, creating the nucleus, which invigorates the negative expression in perpetual motion. Stillness does not exist in the physical world, only balance. Now, the motion is not created by the proton simply thrashing the electron while it's subserviently along the ride for like, woo! No, these two atomic bodies push and pull on each other, and the resulting balance of their combined forces is the measure of that specific frequency or energetic signature. A nucleus is capable of sustaining multiple electrons with more complex relations. Level up! Atoms unite and align to form molecules, which take on a larger specific frequency, the frequencies of different minerals, earth, the elements, and how they interact. This is technically the simplest level to observe some of the physical laws of nature, i.e., how does water swirl around a void? Well, it swirls. I guess that's redundant. How does it move? It swirls around the void. Worth noting at this point. Molecules attract to align and form cells. They then form organs and things. Cells come together to form varying expressions of matter, substance, raw earth material, biotissue, and organs with specific functions and independent frequencies. Yes, every one of your organs has its own energy signature. Level up! Various organs working in coherence and alignment create organisms. An organism is a living thing that has an organized structure, can react to stimuli, reproduce, grow, adapt, and maintain homeostasis. The nucleus, that is each independent organism, has an energetic electron in the form of its relationships and influence over other organisms. This cacophonous burning circus is where we live, everyone. These relationships establish ecosystems, or if we consider this socially, communities. Basically, communities form larger communities, which inevitably form nations. Nations are the highest extent of our social development of unity at this point, and that's kind of laughable, but that will change. Level up! All these nations form our planet. For starters, our planet is also a cohesive system of various organic matter arranged and organized in complex energetic relationships, creating a larger functioning form. Vis-a-vis, she is an organism, and her name is Gaia. Act accordingly. But generally, our planet behaves as the energetic nucleus to the electron of our moon. We know that the moon is gravitationally and magnetically entangled with the Earth, and that the Earth is affected by the presence of the moon. Like the nucleus of atoms, planets are able to sustain multiple moons with more complex relationships. Level up! Solar system. Our sun acts as the nucleus to the electrons of our planets, creating the heliosphere. The sun is the central gravitational and magnetic force of our solar system, holding the structure and providing the energy of every single thing that exists on this planet. That is no small thing, and I would wager most of us out here have never even considered it. Now, the amount of atoms swirling around in this central force so far is greater than anything already in human comprehension. So, level up! The Milky Way galaxy! Our sun is one single swirling electron to the central force of our Milky Way galaxy. What is the nucleus at this scale, do we think? Left. It's going to be worth it, I promise. You all get it. You get it now. Oh, where are we supposed to be now? We're right here, I think. Black holes! Science has begun to understand that black holes are not these terrifying leviathans of the cosmos, mindlessly consuming as they wander through space. They are the structural, energetic centers of every galaxy. And we are not spinning perfectly flat and level. We look like a pizza. Not again, don't do it. A pizza with curves and waves that emanate from the center out to the periphery that fluctuate at a specific wavelength or frequency. 26,000 years is an estimate for our sun to complete one wavelength in the greater cosmos of our of our galaxy. Now, level up! Electrons were stars around black holes. What do you think we got now? Black holes around white holes, or I don't know, some kind of hole. People really like when you call things in space holes. Either way, I will save your brains the rest of the level ups and skip to the structure. Physically, we are swirling collections of atoms, molecules, organs, and tissues, swirling in our ecosystems and communities on a planet, swirling in the solar system that is swirling in the Milky Way galaxy, which is swirling around the center of a black hole, swirling around some other hole that is likely swirling around some source hole at the center of it all. Russian nesting dolls. As above, so below. You're going to hear that a lot tonight, so just strap in for that. Feeling insignificant yet? Anyone? Don't fret. All the lower levels are always contained within the higher form, so nothing is ever lost. Infinity, and it centers around the energetic epicenter, the 0 point, the serpent's egg, the toral field. Now, this is from a since declassified document from a CIA program in the 1980s called the Gateway Project. This diagrams the full structure and form of our physical reality. That is the totality of energy. Level up! I'm just kidding, jeez. I just want to see if any of you were triggered by that yet. But for real, that is the total form of our conceivable energy in this energetic world. Now, how does it flow in space? It flows through the energy and alignment. Most dominating those laws are the laws of electromagnetism. The electric current flows through the circuit, creating a field that influences, you got to do this, man. Thank you. That influences the electrons of anything within that field. Each cosmic body, from atoms up the structural cosmic ladder to infinity, is part of this system at different scales, as well as its own independent energy body. As these various nodes, us included, large and small, move through their systems, they create different alignments. And the thing about electromagnetism, it just doesn't give a shit about distance. Bitches ain't shit to magneto, man. Electromagnetism operates on alignment, and in fact, the greater distance, the greater the magnitude of energy when the alignment is precise. This is what the astrologers and students of sacred geometry start creaming their pants over. And I do want to acknowledge that that euphemism is universal. However, the cream in the pants is due to the fact that these astral bodies are included and are always energetically interacting, and that those interactions could be understood and predicted within the system. The ancients understood this. Like all of them, like across all cultures, basically anyone that came before us understood the significance of these things. But we, in our modern wisdom, have cast them aside. Anywho, that, my friends, is energy. The same raw expression in infinite forms. Now, what are we in all of that? Well, we are not our bodies. What are we? Most of us would presently consider your body and your mind are who and what you are. But most of us are so beaten down out here or bought in that we are reduced to kind of personalities. A general temperament that expresses itself in relatively predictable patterns, because most people don't have the control and authority over their own minds and emotions to be able to define themselves more specifically than that. A character, if you will. And now for many people, that is terrifying. But relax. I promise you, most everyone feels that way. Now, if you go to someone with a question, seeking a solution or understanding that you don't presently have, then inherently you must be open to understanding that the solution may not look like anything that you've ever seen or considered before. You will not be able to grasp the solution if you are not open to seeing it. Or in energy, if you can only attract the frequency you are attuned to. So let's explore something new. Let me introduce you to Lamente Semiket. Wild Sea. This is a tabletop game a la like D&D, Blades in the Dark, Treasure Trove, etc. In Wild Sea, essentially the globe has been taken over by a hyper-aggressive growth of vegetation that has created an open ocean of treetop on which you and your horror shows sail around visiting monolithic trees, the remaining few mountaintops, crests, and debris settlements as they rise and fall in the tides. I know. Awesome. My character, Lamente Semiket, is a race of Zelacrae, which is, they come in varying hive forms, basically, but are essentially a swarm operated by one central consciousness in the form of an anchored soul that has unified the hive around some central energy force. In my case, it's an amber scythe because it's awesome. Again, Lamente, specifically, is a swarm of bioluminescent scorpions that has a bulb at the base of their stingers. They emerge from the depths of the wild sea floor, the drowned. I know! It's so cool. Neat. Anyway, so I threw myself into operating as the conception of a hive-minded swarm of scorpions puppeteered by the detached soul of a young shaman, like hard, okay? Mind you, there are objectively arguable conceptions in modern science that each individual organic cell of our bodies has some semblance of its own sentience, conscious, and independent magnetic field. That brought me to the simple consideration that our awareness does not exist in our physical forms. If I cut off your finger, if I remove some of your cells, your awareness, your consciousness, your ability to perceive and express yourself beyond the appendage I just removed and whatever trauma you've accrued in that process, your being is not diminished in any way. Now, our bodies are amazing. They have the ability to regenerate, heal aspects that are lost or damaged, but that is just the turnover of cells. That is not what we are. So let me introduce you to Lamente Semiket. My squirrely, wired, weathered body, my vessel. We are energetic beings attached to a temporary collection of independent, sentient cells that give our spirit autonomy in this physical plane. Our bodies are vessels, our paintbrushes, our instruments, if you will, made and lent to us by Gaia, the same material incorporated from this planet to encapsulate our energy conscience, and they are returned to Gaia. Sports fans, you all just got your own teams. Body cells, go team, go team, go! We are able to focus on this connection and use it to interact with our physical world, but we can also willingly detach from it and separate into higher dimensions and expressions. Pretty neat. And still, we know that we are not our bodies, but that doesn't tell us what we are. So what the fuck are we? Let's consult some of the monumental pillars that hold up our modern societies. What does religion have to say about it? Now, before actually we consult these perspectives, let's have a quick chat about cults. I'm getting the vibe that some of you are worried you are now in one. Guess what, dum-dums? You're all already in cults. Loads of them, okay? Cult is simply derivative of the word culture. And culture is just an expression of accepted communal behaviors and beliefs. The cultures of your various churches, the cultures of different nationalities and heritages, the cultures of your workplaces, your social circles, social and political movements, fashion trends, the culture of media you consume, pop culture. All cults we are all a part of. Now, historically, cults were just developed circles of community centered around specific ideologies. They were deemed cults when the horrors and abuses that they laid on their followers or others were vilified by society, or when society, or certain rungs of society, decided that they wanted to develop a fear of that community, regardless of whether that fear had been earned. Now, we are all living in the ever-changing culture that we, as well as all who came before us, were born into. It is passed down programming of your limitations and reliance on someone bigger, better, and brighter than you to tell you what's right. Now, this is the vast majority of the history of our culture. Now, we need to stop looking at human history as periods of influence or rule, but start looking at it as a collective. From origin to present, history is something ethereal. We think of it all wrong. We think of it as one common experience of unfolding events, but really, we each experience our own small-scale events and larger, sometimes global-scale events together, yet differently. If we approach people with their history in mind, rather than our own, I can guarantee you we would find much more identification and respect than we often do. And the metrics for success should be the collective health and cohesion, understanding of the world around us, and technological advancement and mastery. And we have excelled at all of these things at varying times, but never correlated the three. And in fact, we more often than not are acting against one or more of these for simple gratification in the now. I invite you to step outside of the culture and back into your own sovereignty. Now let's talk about like all of religion. The perspectives! Each and every one of these is a pathway to truth for the willing seeker. It does not matter which path you choose if you are exploring openly. I will save you a bunch of time in reading, though, and just tell you what religion is, or more accurately, what all religions are. Now, if we were all stood in a circle, yes, and asked to describe the object at the center of that circle to the best of our abilities, we would each have our own unique description of it. But despite even juxtaposed perspectives, there would be distinct differences in how each of us describes that object. And then, if you consider what somebody else on the other side of the circle is seeing, it may not even sound like the same object, but it is. Now, if you don't understand this analogy at this point, I will walk you through the door. Every religion is describing God and creation from a different perspective and is not wrong. And guess what each perspective is describing in that object? Guess what they see in that object? Themselves. Brilliant. Now we understand the perspectives. Let's talk a little bit more about the object. Every one of these religions contains a creation story, a flood or cataclysm event roughly around the same time. Some expression of the masculine and feminine, and general rules for how to act out here, largely. Largely all religions are teaching unity, peace, and harmony with the self, the earth, and with each other. However, for most of the modern world, organized religion has largely become a pacifier for people's questioning of creation and life after death. Often unceremoniously jammed into conceptions of cultural morality in support of things wildly out of line with the core of their teachings. And the idea that any of us needs to defend God is absurd, and it makes creation laugh and shudder. So largely, not exclusively, organized religion has become a pacifier, meant to satiate so we can all continue playing the game. Now, here is as good a place as any to give you a little something about simulation theory. I tried it twice. I really thought I was going to do the Neo shoot-up, and it hasn't worked yet. Anyway, the game of life. Know the rules you are playing by, and you will know how to field every decision laid before you. But that's the issue right now. None of the players who ascribe to simulation theory know the rules or structure of the game. And still, simulation theory, as a conception, is just a valid description of the object as any of the other perspectives. It simply doesn't even attempt to really define the rules of what the fuck goes on or beyond this simulation. They just go, none of this is real, it's all a simulation, we're being lied to! And then they actually offer none more information. So, people's conception of simulation theory is often limited to the film The Matrix or the concept of a video game. We like to imagine it's a very exciting video game where we're all brave characters, but for most of us, it's actually more like The Sims. So, most of us cannot fathom the depth and magnitude of the simulation that is the physical world. The simplest and actually most fun expression I've come across is in an episode of Rick and Morty. Morty is stuck in a game that has splintered his consciousness into millions of different aspects of himself that populate the video game world he's experienced. It's a simulation. None of it has the capacity to destroy his authentic being unless it's turned off. But it does have consequences in pain or pleasure, joy or suffering. Morty is one source expressed as a fractured self. Now, we've already established our bodies are vehicles of consciousness, fabricated from the environment we are experiencing. This is in line with simulation theory. However, we are not in a fucking Xbox somewhere in a void. In fact, you now have a greater understanding of the structure of the cosmos to understand that this is not a small plane of existence. So far, none of it tells us in any clear terms what we are. Simply how to behave, and that something big and cool exists when we wrap it up here. You're gonna love it, you just gotta be good. Now, that sounds wonderful, but we need not wait for the pearly gates or the end of the game to get a deeper understanding than that. I've already surpassed most organized religions in specifics and clarity on what we are and how we exist. Let's see what thought forms exist outside the scope of religion. What does science have to say about it? The funny thing about our science, our present level of concrete comprehension, is that it gives us understanding on cosmic scale structures and parameters of time that exponentially exceed anything we can personally experience in the span of even our longest lifetimes. So basically, what our advanced intellect, what our philosophical, scientific method, egocentric minds can finally fathom that lower beings cannot is our own insignificance. This is why I had to not call it a comedy anymore. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, this is comedy. Our general approach to science is often devoid of any consideration of spirituality or how the ancients approached energy. Often we assume that they must have been lesser minds as they are no longer here, and we are. Not the case. The destructive force of ignorance simply overshadowed them. The one thing that becomes more clear the more we learn is that how little any one of our individual lives means in the grand scheme of things. But as a collective, we can be a plague or an asset. We can squeeze this planet for all it's worth and serve ourselves while we all watch it burn, or we can find balance and respect for the world that sustains us. Our predecessors understood this and engaged with gratitude and reverence in their relationships with Earth and the greater cosmos, but we showed them. Still, let's see what our modern science offers in this conversation. You'll find everything we've already discussed upheld by universally accepted and embraced scientific principles. We've already discussed electromagnetism. Largely, you'll find that most of this is just intros for what the mystics are spitting anyway. But here we go. Gravity! Newton's law of universal gravitation states that every particle attracts every other particle in the universe with force directly proportionate to the product of masses and inversely proportionate to the square of the distance between them. What does that mean? Anyway, simply, that is to say, everything in the universe is constantly pulling on everything else based on its mass and distance. Everything is pushing and pulling on everything, which creates this energy network that we are all existing in. The scientific community now, Einstein's theory of relativity has superseded Newton's principle, but they're both describing the same phenomenon from different perspectives. Who would do that? Conservation of matter and energy. In all physical and alchemical exchanges, there is no loss. All matter and energy are conserved, though transmuted in the process into different physical or energetic forms. In the case of the human body, that inherently means that the consciousness is not lost in separation from the physical form. It simply exists in a different form. More talk of death soon, after more science. Radial coherence. This one's a tricky one. We'll get there together. This is a little-known principle in mathematics and quantum mechanics with an immense power in proper application. Simply put, every point relates is in energetic alignment with both the whole and the center. This will make more sense in the extrapolated understanding the mystics hold, but it's just noteworthy here. Put that in your pocket. Fractals! Any of you public school kids know what a fractal is? In quantum mechanics, fractals are mathematical patterns exhibiting self-similarity at different scales, which is to say, these structures that branch out, their branches exist as exact replicas of the whole form, with even smaller replicas of the whole form branching off of them, so forth onto quantum eternity. Think snowflakes. Think as above, so below. Think half of the shit I've said on the stage so far. Quick tour of our bodies according to medicine. Let's examine what science and medicine know about these little flesh mechs we're all walking around in. Now, the skeletal system is the body's framework of bones, joints, and cartilage that provides support, protection, and a means for movement. It includes the axial skeleton, which is our skull, spine, and rib cage, and the appendicular skeleton, our arms, legs, and pelvis. It performs vital functions like storing minerals, producing blood cells, and protecting organs. Bones are living tissues that are constantly remodeled, like our flesh. All wonderful things. Laid over that is our muscular system, which includes all of our muscles, the organs, and that contract to produce movement. The myofascial system is a broader term that includes the muscles and the surrounding connective tissue as fascia, tendons, and aponeuroses, which link and support the muscle in three-dimensional webs. Sick, right? This support network generally operates on balance of compression and tension. Now, there's our lymphatic system, sewn into all this webbing, an important part of our body's immune system. It plays an important role on maintaining healthy fluid levels in the body, removing cellular debris and harmful substances from the tissues, and helping the body absorb certain fats and other good stuff like that. Then there is the wiring that animates this whole thirst trap. Our nervous system, our body's control and communication network, consisting of the central nervous system of our brains and spinal cord, as well as the peripheral nervous system, all those little nerve bits that branch out through the rest of our bodies. Damn, girl. The circuitry for the brain to the body crosses the midline at the base of the brain in the medulla oblongata. I've always wanted to say that on stage for some reason. So, we know that this right chunk of flesh controls this bigger chunk of flesh over here, and vice versa. Now, let's talk about a part of our bodies that most of us literally know nothing about. Our spinal fluid. This same fluid exists in the ejaculate of men and ebbs and flows with the cycles of the moon in women. Ah, the moon is pulling on us! Yes, it's our big electron. This fluid is essential for both creation and the simple function of our entire vessels. The pineal gland, let me get you some pointers here. The pineal gland is a pea-sized organ in the brain that produces melatonin, the hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycles and influences sexual development, messes with our dreams and the way we perceive reality. It is located in the cerebrum between our two hemispheres. The pineal gland releases melatonin directly into the cerebrospinal fluid, which then distributes it throughout the entire body. The pituitary gland is often called the master gland, just here, because it produces and releases hormones that regulate crucial body functions like growth, metabolism, reproduction, blood pressure, and responses to stress. Most of us know a thing or two about those. It also happens to rest right in front of our optic nerve. Isn't that neat? All these structures are surrounded by duramatter, which is basically the thickest fleshy thing that covers all of our brain and spinal cord and protects it. It is surrounded by duramatter and cerebrospinal fluid, which cushions it. Now, this fluid circulates down the front of our spinal cord, behind our lungs, and up our back ends through the brain again. Yes? Now, you know everything. You know everything there is to know. I'm just kidding. We're moving on. The caduceus, heavily featured in medicine and historical and mythological relevance. 2 snakes swirling up a staff topped with wings. Sick, right? Our study of health and medicine has been woefully long detached from the energetic underlay that is inherently entangled with this physical form, which is to say, doctors don't know shit about these snakes. Not a suggestion to distrust your doctor. You should always be open and honest with your healthcare providers. More caduceus is the thing to come. Science of manifestation. This is the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. His example is pertaining to attaining a new job, but the principles are broadly applicable. Thoughts and ideas exist and attract within certain frequencies. Frequencies are set by our emotional state. Emotions are energy in motion. If you maintain a high vibrational emotional state, love, gratitude, compassion, patience, understanding, joy, you will attract the highest vibrational solution as well as opportunities and support from the external world to empower you to realize whatever it is you're creating. However, if you are constantly vibrating at lower frequencies of fear, scarcity, inadequacy, judgment, anxiety, or insecurity of any kind, you are attracting the thoughts and offerings from the world to create that experience for you. This is science catching up to some of the mystical understanding of these principles. There's a larger and larger community of science beginning to devote resources to phenomena in humans engaging with these practices. This is seen in our developing understanding of neuroplasticity, which is basically neurological rewiring, as well as studies on our brain waves, beta, alpha, theta, gamma frequencies emitted in different states of agitation or focused mindfulness work. Most of us live almost exclusively in the beta state, high or low, which is essentially survival mode, guys. Dimensions. Yeah. I saw time as a line and then as a plane until it became a blanket I could wrap myself in. Wild, right? It's from a show, a sci-fi show. It's really awesome. It's called Foundation. Sick sci-fi. We think of time as strictly linear, but as simple as the marching of the second hand is, our experience of time is in no way linear. It speeds up in moments of joy, play, and elation, just as it slows down in periods of boredom, grief, or fear. This very moment may, in fact, feel like an eternity for some of you. Time is simply a snapshot of the evolution of change. Time, matter, and distance are all different factors or dimensions we use to gauge our physical reality. They are reliant and dependent on one another to track reality and its ever-changing expressions. You cannot process physical reality without each of these being defined: time, distance, matter. 3D. We are able to move in 4D, which accounts for all of these as well as our emotional input and output. And then there's 5D, which accounts for all of these lower 4 factors and acknowledges the natural entanglement of the inherent oneness of creation expressing itself. This requires a scope of experience outside yourself, outside your mind, your ego, your character. And all of those things are always wary of anything outside of themselves. Now, our modern science didn't just arrive magically in the 20th century. It is the incremental understanding built on foundations of the ancients and what they discovered and developed and demonstrated in their contributions. We got chemistry from the Egyptians, the land of chem! who were Masters of alchemy. Our modern science has said, yeah, we'll take the namesake for chemistry, but you can keep all that woo-woo nonsense about higher dimensions and purpose and stuff. Simply put, we don't have our science without all of those who came before us. So let's at least see what that science might have tossed aside in its present consideration. What do the mystics say about it? Think of this as a power-walking tour of the magical museum of mysticism. Can't get enough of these thunder crashes. Or at least most of what our culture would consider mysticism. It's going to feel like a lot, guys. Just drink it in. Just take whatever you can get out of it and enjoy the tour. The deeper knowledge and key understandings that the mystics are operating on are represented across every single major world religion. However, those same symbols and principles are either diminished, if not completely detached from their true significance in the way they are taught to the public. This is the distinction between esoteric and exoteric. Exoteric is the surface belief. Esoteric is the higher knowing. For starters, let's define who we're talking about when we say the mystics, and more importantly, who we are not. Now, the mystics exist in every religion. Abraham, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, the Prophet Muhammad. No pictures! Lao Tzu, Indian yogas, indigenous shaman, medicine men, as well as all the deities that various religions encapsulate. Act accordingly. In fact, I have many capable mystics in my midst. I just build little roadblocks for myself. It's fun. Mystics are those who have set on the path of seeking truth and alignment with the Creator in practical action and embodiment. They study the teachings and wisdoms and principles of the greater expressions of reality and the laws of nature, using tools like meditation, astrology, tarot, numerology, which is basically just math, qigong, energy work, divination, music, and many other forms of symbolic practical engagement with creation. Often, throughout history, these people were hunted and silenced for fear of them spreading the understanding to the otherwise ignorant greater public, whose subservience whatever ruling power at the given point in history relied upon. They are the great myths and religious narratives of those few in our history who have gotten so far as to engage more directly with these energies. You would recognize some of them as famous historical figures, brilliant minds, famous artists, leaders of movements. Many you will never know of, as they studied and developed in solitude. Most, on good advice, kept their practices private, but wrote books and met with other inquisitive minds, etc. But make no mistake, this knowledge is for everyone, and we are serving it up. Who are not the mystics? Any run-of-the-mill brotherhood, secret society, Rotary Club, anyone who is a self-proclaimed guru of anything. Illuminati bitches ain't shit at this point. Templars and Rosicrucianists were cool, but the Freemasons ruined it. Most significant figures in politics and entertainment have either the most base or zero understanding of any of this. If you want to know who's in the Illuminati, examine who benefits from the suffering of the collective. Most importantly, it doesn't matter who else is a mystic. Because look at you guys, you're all in a cult now. You're growing more mystical by the moment. Let's start simple. Detachment. Now, this is an important concept that's recklessly thrown around in very shallow mindfulness pools, often explained as detachment from needs, but then provided approximately, once again, no further clarity on that concept. Unhealthy detachment looks like depression, deep addiction, complete disengagement with the outside world, or chaos and nihilism, because people are like, nothing matters, anarchy! No anarchy. Bad member of the collective. Now, healthy detachment is detachment from the need for your engagement in the world to go exactly as you think or expect it should. Detachment from expectation, because that narrows your ability to collaborate. Once you detach from expectation, you are able to function simply as the observer. Ooh, mystical and vague. I know. Moving on. We'll hear more about this observer later. As above, so below. As within, so without. Now, we saw this in application with the freaking cosmic nesting dolls. We hear this nonstop from the mystics. There are many accurate and applicable interpretations. You will have my definition in good time. But for now, understand, just as the very cells and atoms that comprise our very beings have no understanding of the greater entity they make up, so too are we woefully unaware of the greater system we are a direct part of. But we're all changing that. Transmutation. This is a wild one, because this is what a lot of people get attracted to this stuff for. This is lead into gold, the Midas touch. So let's touch this. Because this is the Sorcerer's Stone, the treasure that all the mystic seekers were told they were seeking, the ability to transform lead into gold. What you come to understand is that as you actually progress along this path, the value we place in the material is not valuable in the greater structure. But the parallel, as above, so below, still stands. When you arrive at the answer to this riddle, you realize that the proverbial lead you are transforming is far more valuable than gold. Numerology! Math before it was math. Numerology provides the essence at the center of mathematical expression, reality in numbers. Therefore, math is the expression and interaction of life over time. The esoteric meaning in the numbers begins with the zero, the void, the emptiness that is the eternal womb for creation to fill. One is the source of creation that fills that void and offers the single unified unit for all creation to be built from, source. But in order for source to create, it needed to create the concept of other in duality. Two differing but equal forces of the source of creation, the masculine and the feminine. Opposing forces birthed from imbalance in the source. The masculine and the feminine offer the concept of unity, which is the Trinity, the union of the Creator. And it goes on like this. But understand that numerology is not just simply neato math or natural physics. It encapsulates the philosophy of creation and our relationship to it. The way the math moved around, it was like the language of the angels. You guessed it, foundation. Such good sci-fi. Brilliant sci-fi. Anyway, our literal physical forms as well as our cognitive sense of self are expressed through numerology as a Fibonacci spiral. Yes, this is the golden ratio. It is the mathematical expression that is observable in countless forms throughout nature and the cosmos. As above, so below! This is numerology expressed in physical form and scientifically verifiable. The mathematics of reality. It is the language of numbers. It addresses the question, how does the one become many? It is a system. And with a system, if you know the components to manipulate and their relationship to the greater system, you know how to influence that system. However, this system often breaks people's minds with its simplicity and complexity, as it is the numeric expression of the whole encapsulated across every scale of individual expression, which are all encapsulated in the whole. Now, we understand that to be fractals. Da Vinci identified the fractal relationship of these proportions in the human form. I have identified them in our conceptions of self, in our social circles. It begins with ourself and spirals out from us to greater and greater magnitudes, to our immediate living space, loved ones, families, close friends, and then further out to the circles of our communities, work environments, social, political identities, and status. From there, it spirals out even further to greater forces we are an aspect of, national identity, religious ideology. Each of these is simply a scale of tribalism, not authentic self. When you can move with the grandest expansion of this understanding to arrive at oneness. We got it. What is oneness, you ask? Rainn Wilson knows about oneness. David Lynch knew. Terrence Howard actually is examining oneness from quantum physics. Nikola Tesla, Mr. Rogers, Bill Murray very likely knows about oneness. Jim Carrey has been screaming into cameras for years about oneness, and many other philosophers and artists that we have ignored through time. Now, if you take one thing away from all of the strangeness that I am scattering today, please let it be this. Oneness is the simple understanding that we are all connected. What you do to one, you do to all. And when you move with one, you move with the power of all. The freaking Three Musketeers had it. Back to dualistic reality. You get enlightened when I say so. Masculine, feminine. It was actually amidst the lamente of it all that I was studying the conceptions of masculine and feminine expressions in ancient mysticism. It got wild and has remained so. Anyway, the key understanding of these aspects of our energy is not strong or weak, as we often compare them. It's not male or female, as we often conceptualize them in gender, or good or evil, as we conceptualize them in movies, religion, and political vilification. But rather, they are as we observe them in nature, positive and negative, in terms of dual forces of magnetism, active and receptive, as we observed in our senses, masculine and feminine, not good and evil, light and dark. And we can't experience anything without both. But they exist in harmony or they don't exist long in the physical. Now, we all contain the masculine and feminine within it. Oh my God! Say hi to Baphomet. This cat has gotten a really, really bad rap, okay? People think that this is the devil, but this information predates Christianity deciding that the devil is now a goat person after being a serpent, and before that, he was an angel. And even still, if you insist on labeling this figure an enemy, and you acknowledge that you're dealing with a being that can change form, it would behoove you to understand your enemy better. Also best to consider, we are all angels and devils as we so choose. Here, Baphomet is simply showing us the masculine and feminine in each of us. The feminine, coagula, the receptive force of creation, gather, the gentle hand that approaches the world with kindness, understanding, and compassion, a resilient hand, open and graceful, there to lift people up in their hardest times. And then there is the masculine, the active force of creation, solve, dissolve, scatter, powerful and unrelenting. In its extremes, wrathful, often gorilla-balled and vicious. In my time, it has earned me the titles of Knuckles when mishandled. Now, they both reside in all of us, and we are always acting on a spectrum between them, between love and power. Anyone spot the caduceus? The yin and the yang are representing this in very principle in unity and balance. This is from the East. If we examine the human form from above, this is how we would perceive the distribution of masculine and feminine in our physical form. The feminine brain resting above the masculine body. The feminine brain resting above the masculine body, and vice versa. Each contains an aspect of the other within itself. The yin and the yang are the opposing feminine and masculine energies and the fluctuating waveform between them. The fluctuating frequency can be channeled into a stream when both energies are properly balanced, and that energy that they contain in their combination is the infinite energy of creation that we all possess. And it is the highest state of our beings. I came to understand it as the top-down view of the Hermes scepter, the caduceus, rotating, creating torsion, and rising up. They are one and the same. The great healing power of that scepter is the human body and energy network of the spine. We are the healing force. See for yourself in these very bodies. Sacred geometry. Triangles, rectangles, etc. The mathematical relationships that these different geometric forms establish. The circle, the infinite forms that's contained through different relationships within it. What does sacred geometry offer us? The symmetry of stability, balance, and alignment that exists in our environment and the human form. When you come to be more aware of it, you can sense to find within your own being. You can use that symmetry with intention, and you can do this standing, you can do this sitting, you can do it lying down. And once you get a sense of it, you can do it in motion like you've never experienced. The flower of life. Terrence Howard has some brilliant extrapolations on the three-dimensional understanding of this two-dimensional representation on the atomic scale. But I will explain the key concept it's expressing in a spell. Every possible geometric form exists within this pattern, which is to say, all of those forms we find in sacred geometry exist within the structure of the flower of life. It is the template for any material in reality, and the form of prematter, dark matter. I know. Let's see what some of the mystical perspectives offer on how this energy exists in our bodies. Mudras. Let's talk about these, because these are absolutely wild. So as mentioned, these immaculate energy pads that we have, these little feelers of the world, are tiny tentacles that most of us are embarrassingly inept with. Each correlate to one hemisphere of our brain. Not only are they tied to our brains, but they are functional replicas of our bodies with corresponding energy points and networks that run through them to the rest of the body. People who have deeply studied ancient and mystical practices of the palms understand that each component of the hands, fingertips, are connected to a different region of your body and brain. When you allow these to connect in different ways, you are essentially creating a circuit and allowing those different components of your brain to connect directly, interact, and communicate energetically. You can explore and create your own mudras. Go nuts. Your chakras. This is an approach to the human energy form long held in India and East Asia. The root chakra, red, base of the spine, the ground floor of support for everything built on top of it, your overall feeling of safety. The sacral chakra, orange, the pelvis with its energy center in the bowl between your hip joints, sexuality, creativity, your sense of self. The solar plexus chakra, yellow, between the navel and the diaphragm, your gut, your feeling of connection to the world around you, your self-confidence. Your heart chakra, green, in the energy center behind your sternum, your emotional center, where you feel love, excitement, pride, anger, all of that fun stuff we've been chirping about. The throat chakra, azure blue, located in the larynx, how you express yourself in the world. Are you free? Are you constricted? The third eye chakra, indigo, located in the middle of your brain, in the pineal gland, your understanding of self, your free will, your imagination. The crown chakra, violet, white, pink, 1,000-petaled lotus blossoming from the top of your head. Each petal is said to be one of the gifts from the divine for you. And we're not done yet! The soul star chakra! This is a vibrant, white, gold sphere that hovers above your head like you're a character from The Sims. Remember that? Who sees it? Anyone spot the caduceus? The tree of life. This is the tree of life, one of the 3 pillars of Kabbalism or mystical Judaism, which originated out of the Hermetic practices of Egypt. This maps the human energy form in a more expansive structure than that of the chakra system. Also, I believe this gives a far more clear breakdown of the physical and energetic integration that exists in these forms. Just as we understand that this picture of a human has assumed mobility in it, so should we understand this structure has assumed mobility within that form. Now, let's run through these. Just as we understand the picture of the human form, these energy centers are known as zephyrs. Oh my God, I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Where does this energy flow through us? Now, this gives us a mapping of some of the energy centers within our physical form. Look at any system, or does this look like any system we've seen so far running through our body? This leads us to what these cultures offer in the nadis, our energy pathways that exist in our bodies and how they are tied to our physical form. There are 12 main nadis with significant points along each energy path. And when you sense how these lines want to support your body and open up through your breathing, you really get to demystify some shit. This is what the practices of yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong are designed to help us with. But our cultures mostly use it as a neat, quiet exercise before you get back to the hustle. What and where does all this energy go from us out to? The quantum field, the unified field, the morphic field, the collective consciousness. Everything, all inanimate material as well as living beings have an energy field that extends out infinitely. We observe this dynamic in our understanding of gravity. Planets, stars, stones, people, creatures, nebulas, and other energetic forms create this overlaid network that each inherently feeds but also draws off of. Essentially, the collective consciousness, senses, feelings, thoughts, as well are being influenced by this field. Now, inanimate matter simply contributes in a neutral way. It is simply existing in the flow with the field in its current state. But people are contributing to it in a positive or a negative polarity. The simplest expression of this is love or fear, respectively, but include all varying expressions of these extremes of the spectrum that we have found ourselves engaging tonight. Love, joy, blah, 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 hate, envy. Therefore, we are inherently attracted by our own actions and contribute to this field. If we feed it fear, we are fed fear back. If we feed it love, we are fed love back. Now, as good a place as any, complete your understanding of the human gaze from the mystical point of view. The human gaze is the very gaze of God. We spend all of our time worrying about the gaze of other people around us because it's looking God in the face. God does not have a single face. It does not need a face. It has many, and any single one would be too limiting for its infinite expressive and expansion. It is looking ourselves truthfully in the face. To look at someone else and with the intimacy, understanding, the myriad of moments, memories, and experiences that is another person, to see the world through that lens in their holistic experience, ego, character. When you can look at someone with that understanding, respect, and reverence, that is a transcendent mindset. Worth noting, God is subduing the figure with his, he is subduing the figure's active hand with his passive hand. Before we move on to a quick break, let's talk about timelines. There are far more than 3 timelines, obviously, but for our examination, let's start by examining 3+ timelines. Timeline 1 is you, and you, and you, and you, and me. It is each of our own unique experience of time, one shimmering speck in this great structure. Timeline 2 is the greater community that is woven of each and every one of those individual timeline 1s that creates a greater, larger timeline that contains all the lower timelines. Fiber, cable through time. And those communities string together, woven within each other as time flows into mega fiber cables, timeline 3s of our greater communities, our states, our nations, which we could understand as regions. They are all scale of timeline observation you want to examine. This scope of timeline can be drawn out as far as our greater experience as one whole collective, not nationally, not divisions of borders or belief or flags or any measure of other, but one. And that is the collective experience. The resulting structure of all these timelines. And ours has been rife with suffering and division for as long as we can remember. And we are all, through shaping our own timelines, contributing to the shape and direction of these higher timelines. Enough timelines 1 can reshape a timeline 2. Enough timeline 2s can reshape the trajectory of a timeline 3, and so on until the trajectory of our world has changed. But to steer the collective, it has to be collective choice. Now, speaking of time, let's all take a minute to refresh ourselves. We'll take a breather, grab a drink, hug our loved ones, go stare into the void, whatever you need. When we come back, we will address the one single linchpin in any and all of us out here, which is death.
Tour de force, man.
That's exactly what I thought.
I could not even possibly spit out a 1/10 of that. That was awesome.
Let's talk about death. Death is not my real name. It's just a mask I wear. My real name is change. This is an unpopular acknowledgement these days because of how horrifically devoid of any humanity it was recently offered to suffering people as a get over it from one of their trusted elected leaders. But we are all gonna die. And when you come to understand the wasted energy in fearing an inevitable event, you are able to examine it to understand the greater system it is a part of. Now, we all conceive this judicial, vengeful or God, or at least one of his thug angels waiting for us at the gates of heaven, the guardian at the threshold. Who is that? And don't say Saint whoever, because that's not who we're talking about. Who is that other than you? Let me literally flip this concept on its side for you. In this diagram, where is your higher self? In your future, above you. It is a paradox, but God always is when viewed from incomplete understanding. Your own conception of God is simply you, your highest self, judging you from a place of your highest self. And the paradox is that you wouldn't be able to judge yourself if you weren't already aware of what the better path was. If you release these self-judgments separating you from that, you are immediately able to access God, because it is already an aspect of you who's been there all along. Simply allow yourself to be yourself without the baggage of whatever you're still defining yourself with from your past or confining yourself with from fear of the future. Refine yourself. If you want to study death, you need look no further than your own breath. In every breath exists the cycles of life and death. As above, so below, as within, so without. The drawing in of new life on the in-breath. As you hold, it is allowed to blossom into beauty and energy as it permeates your entire being and invigorates your expression here. And then comes the inevitable stagnation and decay of that energy, needing to be released. And that's allowed on the out-breath. And then there's the inevitable loss, yet alleviation as that energy departs and your vessel is emptied, making way for the whole cycle to start again. In every breath is the teaching of the necessity to let go and how to let go, which is to allow, accept, and trust that something new and beautiful will fill that space again. You can practice your awareness of this, and your body loves it. It goes nuts. A good way to start is box breathing. Each phase of the breath executed on 4 counts. Once you realize how freaking good this feels, you'll do it for 8 counts on each phase, and you will be astonished at what your body is able to do with that energy. And once you notice what your body starts to do with that, you will begin to do it intuitively, without having to pay attention to it, but allowing and sensing. And with that energy, you are able to engage in astral projection! This is going to be a really good one. Astral projection! You just got the secret of out-of-body travel. Don't say I'm not delivering value here. Learn to listen to the energy network around you, to your own body and spirit, to the forms and energy of others. Astral projection is to die, as we often understand it. It is conscious, intentional separation from your physical form. It is not painful, but there is an immense fear in the letting go until you learn to trust your own being. When we dream, we detach into our inner worlds, but we are also conscious. We are able to also consciously separate from it and operate in our material world and beyond. Ask the government. Look up your local CIA directive. Boy. Now, transmuting fear of death into cosmic understanding of cycles still does not tell us what we are. So what do I say about all of this? Brought him right back. I've prattled on and paraded out different conceptions of what lots of others say about all this. Now, what do I say about it? Let's demystify some shit. Religion, for starters. I say what Jesus or Yeshua said. The golden boy of Christianity and most quoted prophet in the Quran. I don't think we have volume on this now, I'm just realizing. Studied with the yogis in India, initiated and ascended son of God and great mystic in his time. My boy said, let those with eyes see, let those with ears listen. From this, you are viewing the world the way God sees it, as that ominous observer we keep hearing about, unfiltered by the judgments of your own ego, but with the understanding of the experience of the other person. And when you understand you are abundantly provided for along the way, this becomes easy to do. Where is this mysterious path they're always talking about? Boom! Right there. Right in front of you, in front of every step you take out here. Jesus goes on, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way. The only way any of us can access these states is through each of our own conscious choice to do so. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The works I do, so shall you do, and greater works than these, said Jesus. These gifts were not meant just for Jesus or the myriad of other mystics across the religions because they were special. They are meant for all of us. And he'd be the first one to tell you about all this, except they didn't have concrete conceptions of electromagnetism, medical maps of the human body, and the internet to explain this all to you over YouTube. So, the second coming of Christ is not Christ returning from his cosmic vacation to finally come save us, or just his friends probably, from this garbage fire. The second coming of Christ is the collective embracing and understanding Christ consciousness. Boom, demystified. Energy and sense, thoughts, feelings, senses. Again, mostly thoughts are influences from the outside world that we are told to fear or achieve. We cannot hear our authentic voice when we are constantly reacting to these triggers. It is only when we still ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally that we can return to our unhindered self. But then we're not just meant to simply dive right back into the madness until we're forced to take a breather again. We are meant to learn to carry ourselves through this world in that sovereign state. And from there, it is easy and beautiful to walk this path laid before you with love, compassion, and wonder. Boom, demystified. Science, fractals. Our separate conscious perspectives are just fractals of higher structured existence, cosmic nesting dolls of the Creator. As above, so below. Every fractal is inherently a part of the whole, not separate. And when we understand the structure of our physical instruments, we can actively engage with its creation with intention. And that is not scary. It is beautiful. My nephew said it. We are all different, but in different ways. That's awesome. That is so fucking cool. Infinitely different beings. What is the only real difference? Our choices. Boom. Demystified.
Nice.
Magic. What is magic? Magic is simply science we don't fully comprehend yet, and the ancients knew this. We are all practitioners of magic. You're all doing magic all the time. How do you make words? You spell them. And when you start to look into the origins of many of our words, their inherent parts become more interesting in their expressive applications. Everything we contribute in energy and action is our magic. And it can have very powerful and very immediate effects. I encourage you to dispel yourself of everything you think you know about magic and start exploring with conscious intention. What are you asking the unified field? And what are you offering in collaboration for that request? And is it sincere? Boom. Magic granted, everybody. Congratulations. Yeah, you're all witches and wizards. You're welcome. Act accordingly. Intention transcends distance. There is no distance within this egg too great that when you are in alignment with the Creator in emotion, thought, and physical being, centered, that you are not directly in electromagnetic alignment and therefore power of the central source. But the alignment must be precise and authentic. You cannot pay hopeful lip service. You cannot fake divinity, only wear it poorly. The structure, known for its symmetry and proportion and traditions. The flower of life. I think we zoomed on you. Go. Wonderful. Flower of life and radial coherence. Okay, this one's a doozy, everyone, but you're going to impress yourselves. The human form is the instrument to establish the sacred geometry represented in the tree of life through the functional understanding of radial coherence. Most of those terms meant nothing to you an hour ago. Look how much you've grown. They may not mean much yet, but you can go back and watch this now. Radial coherence, every point relates, is in energetic alignment to the center and to the whole. Each of us are the experience of one point on the whole of this expansive creation. We all have access to the divine center of alignment, and all it takes is focus. And guess what everybody has been demanding of you since you got here? Your focus, your attention, your energy. It's terrifying because we've been told we have to leave a mark. We have to have a legacy. We have to be remembered, even though we don't even remember our own history. But existence is not a race. It is a symphony that resonates on more than one level collectively together. For what reason? To remember how to carry divinity and sovereignty. Boom. Demysteriated. Death. Our old friend. Change. Education should include your body and health from an early age as a vessel that teaches what we are beyond our vessel, or reducing people to their vessel's gender and or expressive identity. That helps us to understand the energy that we all come from and return to, like droplets of water rejoining the sea. The droplets they don't cease to exist, but they exist once again within the whole of the ocean. We are droplets in this place, but this place was made for us to explore. We spend a short time here and gather our experiences before we return to the ocean. We rest a while, but inevitably return to learn more and so on. And by maintaining this place that we all return to, treating other passengers kindly as you understand the need for kindness in this place, and letting go of fear, we can realize true peace and prosperity. The end is not scary if we're proving and providing for good beginnings here. Boom! Eternal life! Granted! And this is one thing that I decided to do with it, everybody. We do dumb stuff in service of our characters. Look at Lamente. Look at this idiot. Look at him. He's completely lost. And that's okay, because that brave idiot, he made it all the way here. And I'm going to keep going. But it doesn't have to hold shame to examine how we used to engage. It's amazing the things we do as our characters here. How we give ourselves away in service of maintaining that character, and how we thought we needed to participate in this world. And isn't that the point? To see that and take it back. Take back ownership of how you engage out here. All of any of this is, for each and every one of us, is remembering our authentic self. No one can stop any other person from seeking that. And as you trust the choices of your authentic self, you are completely liberated from any and every hold the outside world has on you instantly. Not someday, not after you're healed, not once you're perfect, but the moment you fully understand that and choose. Demysteriated. Way cooler in that picture. It's not a matter of timing. It's not a stroke of the clock. It's not the return of a savior. It is a choice, pure and simple, but terrifying, according to what we've been told out here. Why is it the speed of light multiplied by itself times matter equals energy? How? Because it is the light of source and the light of our beings interfacing which manifests our perceived reality, interpreted mainly through our sensing capabilities of this vessel, we are experiencing this perpetual energetic exchange through, bruh. I said it. That's it. We are made by the Creator, in the Creator's image. We are creators. We think of living a holy life as this boring, solemn life. You guys think I'm at monasteries? You think they let me in there? It is the opposite. And I cannot stress enough, it doesn't have to look like this. Nor does it need to be seclusion and quiet reflection as the world just passes you by. Quite the contrary, the world is opened up to you in ways that you can't currently fathom. What are we? We are permanent beings. Each of us an authentically unique permanent being in creation, having an impermanent experience in an impermanent realm. We are fractals, facets of one multidimensional jewel reflecting the one true light of source, which is love. We have been submerged in a dualistic forgetting over and over until we are able to remember our divinity and how to carry it. And I am here to remind you, right now, we can expand higher, access more, achieve more out here collectively. We are the bridge. Our consciousness is the means by which these divine frequencies of compassion, understanding, love, and joy are grounded here in this physical world. First within ourselves, and then within our physical expression, action, and contributions here. We are also the means by which fear, judgment, shame, wrath are manifested here. What will you offer? What will you receive? There is no good or evil. There are only teachers of how to move in divinity. We need to break this conception of splitting this world down the middle between good and evil. We will never find a divide that we all agree on. And meanwhile, we will keep proliferating what we consider evil, which is division, discord, dissonance, disharmony. And guess what? The evil ones we've labeled on the other side are just out here doing exactly what we are, only in the other direction. And all the people who know that it's all distraction, are reaping the benefits and hoarding our resources. This is what is meant when we say there is no good or evil. There has only ever been us, treating each other the way we choose to, as beautiful and horrific as that is. We are all angels and devils here as we so choose, and when we understand that, a better and brighter world is not difficult to imagine. The veil, the forgetting lifetime after lifetime is intentional and a tool so that we may re-enter uninhibited by the traumas and mistakes of our previous engagements. Without that, there is no chance for growth. And growth can be painful. But you and I are both creations and perspectives of the same Creator, and you have nothing to fear from me. You will always have a safe space in this world by my side. Each and every one of us are only separated by our fear of one another. We all ultimately want peace more than power. And those who don't are choosing to betray your own collective. But the collective can choose better. What you do to one, you do to all. And when you move with one, you move with the power of all. That is what I say. How the fuck do you do that? Oh, God. I don't really know. That's not true. What have we learned in all this? What have I come to learn? I've come to learn that I value my peace. And 99% of the time, the world is asking me to trade in my peace for something immensely urgent and important. No. I really like my peace, way more than anything that I have been offered out here. And I can play from my peace. I can handle hardship from my peace. I can see people clearly from the clarity of my peace. Now, that doesn't mean that no one gets access to me ever under any circumstances, but rather you are invited to come enjoy my peace and we can discuss whatever you like and play from there. And guess what? I'm not drained all the time now. I'm actually participating out here how I would like to. I am incredible. I am capable of incredible engagement with energy, but I also really like being Uncle Paul. My nephew AJ took this one. You can keep all the relationships that enrich you, that make you proud of who you are. You don't have to take a wrecking ball to everything in your life. People are afraid of this information because they think it's asking them to become something that they aren't, to denounce everything about who they are, and that they'll lose themselves in this understanding. No. It's quite the opposite. I am here asking you to acknowledge that you've been giving yourself away all along to, and invite you back. Please, we need you. We need all of you. We need each other. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you see something you want to adjust, you don't shake the mirror until it shows you what you want to see. It is simply showing you the things you want to change. You got to make the change on your end. And don't any of you dare take my word for it tonight. Belief, not knowledge. And knowledge can only be gained through experience. So how do we engage? Let's start with frequency. When we're talking about frequency, what is that? In its simplest form, back to Uncle Paul. That is your emotions, mainly, is your frequency, energy in motion. Those are your measure of your experience of anything. But setting your frequency, setting your emotional state, is like trying to listen to the radio while your child self keeps rolling the knobs to the other static channels. No one listens to the radio anymore. It's like spiritual internet. For your toddler mind won't stop typing shit into the search bar. And think about the internet. You are not just immediately thrown into every web page ever made all at once. You start from a home page, and from there, you need to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you will be immediately overwhelmed. Yep. Let's get to know the toddler smacking the keyboard of our minds. Our minds work like a movie screen, but it's the most immersive 3D IMAX movie sensory overload experience you can imagine, as we can all tell from time to time. Things are constantly flying across the screen, and you could choose to follow any sense or character it instills in you that comes across the screen. You could follow that character through whatever strange, exciting, terrifying story it leads you through memories, thoughts of the future, simple daydreams, or any trigger from your senses. But if you simply let these things cross the screen of your mind without attaching to one, the screen will clear eventually. And that world will open up to you more fully, where you can create and engage with what's on the screen. Everything exists within you. I know this is unfathomable, but it does, because what you are seeking in this outside world are the things that will give you the internal experience you are looking for. But that already exists within you when you have control over your mind and emotions. You can find what you're seeking in the outside world within you because it already exists there. You're just trying to draw it to the surface by finding the things that you think will give it to you. How do we get better at this? Modulating this screen, running the programming, identity training. Here it is. He's starting a cult. I knew it. No, I know. Guys, that sounds like brainwashing, if ever I've heard it. But drop your weapon, and you will understand it is the polar opposite. Identity training is learning to observe your surroundings, your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, your fears, your ambitions, your experience, and not identify yourself with it. Identity training is a thought appears in your mind. Who is that thought appearing to? That simple question changes everything. The moment you acknowledge the thought, you are no longer inside of it, but you are the one who sees it. Examine the programming that's running in front of you, programming other people are operating on in their experience. Learn to examine what we're receiving from the outside world and choose how you want to actually be amidst that. As you do this, you'll sharpen your discernment of what is actually you, rather than what is simply demanding your awareness from the outside. This is learning full sovereignty and autonomy over self. I cannot imagine anything further from brainwashing than that. And the study ends when you understand energy integration and allow yourself to move and engage with it. First, you got to be aware of it. That's our emotions and our mind. How does all this work in our bodies? What does this thing do? When we allow the natural compression and tension structure of the body to balance, we are able to open up the channel of the caduceus, allowing the flow of our spinal fluid. When the channels are open, guess what your freaking lungs are? A pump. You can regulate the flow and this fluid with your own breath. Pumping cerebrospinal fluid up the column applies pressure to the pituitary gland, physically engaging it here with focused intention. But this focused energy needs to be grounded before it moves up. We're kind of inherently afraid of down, falling, deep water, spaces we can't see what's below us, hell! But our orientation is entirely dependent on the force we are pulled towards. We are pulled towards the center of Gaia. Our vessel is the living biological matter of Gaia herself. So it knows what to do with this energy that exists in our breath. All we need to do is utilize our instruments in proper tune and alignment, and that is easy to do. Literally, if we understand how energy flows. These wonderful, brilliant grounding pads we have, and this network of energy that we know runs through us, runs up our fronts, back, periphery, all of these nadis, these energy lines, these pathways. Understanding your energy network with those immaculate energy pads that we all have, allowing it to move through these wonderful meridians, these forms. So when we take motion, when we hurry up in this world, we are bringing molecules of our body and beings more in line with this world. We're therefore lowering our energy in the grand scheme of energy operation in higher levels. Therefore, the reversal is true. I feel like I pulled a second page there. We did that. Now, moving on! The reversal is how you actually increase your energy awareness and elevate to higher levels. You release, relax. Do not take motion and engage in the physical with those focuses it requires. You're able to reintegrate. As you do, you let the measure field clear. You'll start to unlock the great myriad of ways you have of sensing and interacting with these planes of matter, reality, and this unified field of pre-matter. What? I know. You guys can hang out with it. Be like the stone. This is what got torn away. This is, I know what we're talking about. All of this is, in our bodies, is the synchronization of our hemispheres. The CIA covers this in the Gateway Project. They titled it HemiSync. In order to describe the Monroe Institute for Technical Achieving Alerted States of Consciousness, the Gateway experience, involving brain hemisphere synchronization. This release can happen when we have autonomy and control in our body, our emotions, and our minds. All that is allowing us to do is to synchronize the two hemispheres of our brain. And when your two aspects of your brain are synchronized, they are of one mind. Your mind. That was the gist of the page I think I lost. Keep up.
Nice job.
Thank you, thank you. I did write it, but it's also a lot. It's a lot. Once you do this, you will start to unlock the great myriad of ways we have of sensing and interacting with these planes of matter. It is very easy for stones to find balance, to find rest. They just let their form rest in whatever orientation the force of nature chooses to settle them in. They will always move towards balance, and they will plow through any surface not suited to hold their gravity until they are returned to balance. Now, it doesn't have to be as destructive as all of that. But here is the key to as above, so below. As within, so without. Balance needs to emerge from the inner to the outer. Just as anything in this material world emerges from the inner worlds of our thoughts. The universe is mental, even the physical expression of it. Everything that exists in this material world first existed as a thought in someone's mind. So too does balance emanate forth. It all exists within you, and when you understand that, you can move with the intention to materialize in this world what you are seeking, often in ways that far exceed your expectations. If mastery over frequency is the goal, how do we get better at that? Through focus. Focus. Energy flows where your attention goes. After all of this, if you don't know what your religious beliefs in, if you don't know what you worship, no. We all worship the things we give our focus to. Your focus is your worship, and we are worshiping all the time. So how do we use this focus? Where do we place our worship? In the divine, in love, in a love beyond a romantic love, a love that understands the power it holds over others and wields it with grace. Allow the illusions of this world to unfurl with dignity and respect. The divine is in the energy current that exists in all of it, in stillness, in balance. When we are not manipulating it with our thoughts, desires, and emotions, the freaking force, if you will. We've just been told there's nothing there. Don't bother even trying. You'll look silly. But back to work. No! Yoda was a mystic and a Jedi master. There, you happy? You got wizards and Jedis in all one day. Wow. The source exists in our own center. It's always accessible and more sustaining than anything you can find in this material world. It can cleanse your body and mind if you allow it to. Releasing and sensing the environment fully creates an interactive interface with the magnetic field of which your heart is the electrical current that can power massive movements of energy. What is purpose? Regardless of intention, our purpose is what we put our energy towards. We've been giving away our purpose for so long, and yet we're all so hungry to find it most of the time. You know when I found my purpose? When I stopped asking the outside world to assign it to me. We need to stop living a life of looking forward and backwards and understand that now, here, this is when you heal the past and build the future. This path everyone keeps talking about, right at our feet, the ever-present moment is the gateway to eternity. Your moment of power is always now. There's no past, and only the future possibility used that you have access through your choices. Every thought, word, and deed in our past has led us to who we are today. So it stands to logic that every thought, word, and deed you express in the present is leading you towards your future. Those thoughts, words, and deeds are your magic. Your authentic self is what you become the moment you stop trying to appear as something to an outside observer. Greatness is not an outcome. It is an act of being. Discipline is not a lack of freedom. It is a harmonious relationship with time. Supply is not something to be gained. It is something to be revealed. And your power is not dependent on other people's approval of it. The shark does not depend on the belief of ants to exist. Felt like a locker room talk right at the end. Now, most of us have a great deal of difficulty slowing down our minds. Yeah? Let me show you the full beast you are taming. I would like you all, at home, wherever, sit comfortably, stand comfortably, support yourself. Both feet on the ground in front of you, about shoulder length, maybe a little more, whatever's comfortable. Just sit and support your spine with not forced supported extension. Close your eyes whenever you like. Open them whenever you like, but closed is right. We all have what are called sitting bones. They're very mysterious. If you allow your hips to rock back, your torso will want to open slightly, and your spine will show you where it wants to rest. You don't have to find perfect, exact, sacred geometry in your system, no. So long as you're not a crumpled mess, symmetry is not what we're after. We are here for connection and ease. And that will guide you in surrender to your natural symmetry. So you what your caduceus wants to do. A little dangle, a little shudder. Allow your arms to find rest as your shoulder balance each other across your mantle. Gently opening up the chest a little more. Listen in your body where your places is holding disjointed balance. Counterpoints of tension where your body feels the need to support itself. Perhaps a small sense of feeling not safe in some small way, of distrust for whatever cradles you. But be brave. Let go. In that release, you will find ease and flow, if not symmetry. Just bring your attention to your breath. Allow it to find its natural full, its natural empty. Slow is okay. There's an infinite abundance of air to breathe. So just allow that as you explore your lungs emptying and refilling. Allow your body to hold your breath for a moment. Drink it in before it releases it. Allow yourself to really be here. The full knowledge that there is nothing you require in this moment. You are complete in this moment. You have no need for money in the here, right now. From here, it's easy. Find yourself in relaxed awareness. It is a beautiful place to be. From this state, examine yourself. Honestly, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? What do you sense in your body? What are you feeling in your emotional center? What are you holding in your mind space? And don't judge what you find there in any of those spaces. Let that sweet, sweet caduceus of your spine find its support. Now bring your attention to that spine while you allow the mantle of your shoulders to simply rise with the full natural breath. Allow the head to find its natural height, gently stretching your core. Allow the mantle of your shoulders to find ease as the breath is gently pumped down along the spine and held as it permeates your being. You'll feel it filling that bowl in your pelvis, pushing down into the soles of your feet. This is the completely natural functioning of your system, pumping between your head and hips, based in support. In this state, you are actively taking part in physically engaging with creation, source. And the more you can feel it and allow it, the more masterful you become at engaging with it. Now just bring your awareness down to your heart. That thing has been kicking all along the way. I think a small show of gratitude for it and you is in order. A gift we rarely give ourselves. Gratitude. As you breathe, allow your awareness to rest with your heart as it rises and falls your breath. And with your awareness resting in that place, allow yourself to just bask in the silence. And understand that what you have resting there resides in every single living person. Go back whenever you like and spend time with them. But where do we go from here? This is not naive idealism. This is prophecy fulfilled. This is one new world order, one path available to us. This new world order bullshit is a fear tactic, by the way. They called it that to give us the illusion that what we have now is safer. Make no mistake, the current world order would horrify you compared to what we are capable of. And in all of these changes, one thing that has become clear to me for certain is I am a leader. Now, the value of a leader is not how heavy a burden they can shoulder or how loud they can shout, but how clearly and dandily they can lead the way. The question came up in developing this. How do you want us to be better? And that's a great question to want the answer to walk away with. But you might not like my answer. And I don't want you to be better. I don't want us to compare ourselves to others or who we have been. I don't want you to reach my standard of who you should be. I want you and everyone to have full agency and authority over who you choose to be. I am no leader in dictating what you need to do, but rather in leading you back to your own sovereignty. I am infinity, and I come with gratitude. I come to you as one of the sovereign. I have been given the charge of one light in this infinite expression. And when a flame is shared from a candle to a candle, the light of the first is not diminished in the lighting of the second. As I share my light, I am not diminished. Rather, my light is multiplied in the flame it kindles in others. The only way to truly keep it is to give it away. And in that giving, all receive. I am one of many, and all are one, and these gifts are for all and each and every one of us to receive fully. Sovereignty is choosing what you contribute to creation. Guarding your emotional and mental state does not mean we simply don't participate. Once again, it is the opposite. We are all meant to be here. It simply means maintaining your sovereignty to participate from a place of power, not of giving our power to these other things we find here. There is nothing that you need to point to earn or validate your time here. Your worthiness is not earned. It is inherited. You are not your fucking khakis, if you will. If we remove money, scarcity is a myth. And now many will ask, well, am I supposed to just give up all my possessions and quit my job? I don't know, maybe. But I do know that a better way is not beyond our capabilities or our desire. Capitalism is an economic system characterized by private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. The tricky bit is, no one said everyone gets to be a part of that ownership. And in our present system, those who actually own the vast majority of it are complicit in the suffering of the multitudes who don't. Capitalism is not inherently evil, but the well-being of the economy should be secondary to the well-being of the people, not the other way around. The basic needs of the people should be met, and then we can develop markets around whatever we want and have a great time picking and choosing what we want to engage and play with and develop together. Money is an energy source created and utilized exclusively by us. And it is not meant to be held, it is meant to flow. And in that flow, our society grows. Markets are able to thrive with equal engagement from the collective, with all of our simple basic needs met, we are able to develop and thrive technologically as our collective minds are empowered to contribute. If we remove the dualistic concept of other, we are able to celebrate our unique expressions rather than allow them to fuel fear. When we acknowledge the cyclical nature of our very beings, no material gain can justify moving with anything but love and power in equal and infinite measure. And we, as the sovereign, will stand up to uphold the sovereignty of all. You are divine, inherently and irrevocably. There is nothing to prove and nothing to beg for. You are an expression of source, and your very existence is cherished as part of the whole. You are already enough. You just need to let that be enough to start. And after what I'm sure has felt like an eternity for some of you, I leave you with a gift from Master DK, greatness. Great invocation. The point of light within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend upon earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ be true to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. And from the center, which we call the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may you seal the door where the devil dwells. Let light, love, and power restore the plan on earth. You have all the tools you need to be magi, witches, wizards, Jedi, mechs, and cool Gundams. Use them well and act accordingly. Over here.
I'm not collapsing. This mic is stopped, so you don't know that I'm fatigued after that.
Thank you.
I haven't stayed away from a movie this good in a long time.